What's up, YouTubers? This is part 3 of the Zermeno tier legacy, the legend. The Zermeno knives tier. This knife originally, just to get you caught up real quick, this knife originally sold for $450. It's full titanium on bearings. It has a thumb hole deployment. Works great. I don't need to go for the full review. I will go ahead and link that up there. Oh yeah, I cut myself. That advanced knife, bro, knife is very sharp. It is made of AEBL steel. I can tell you right now, actually, that this particular one, Rodney did a hardness test for me, and it was a 59.2 on the Rockwell scale. So it's a decent heat treat. It's not like a super high end custom special 62.1 or whatever. But you know what, 59 is just fine. It's not, at least it's not like 55 to 57. So that's a good thing. So all right, like I said, I'm not going to talk about the other stuff that I did in the review. Go check that out up there. But what I am going to talk about are the big things that I needed done and that have been done. First of all, look how beautiful that is in the closed position right now, especially because I don't yet have the blade reground. So what we did is on this knife, it had very square corners. And Rodney at Noftastic EDC, I will put his link to his channel in the description. But he radiused every single one of these. They were fairly square corners, and it wasn't overly uncomfortable. But oh my God, this thing in the hand now in every position, choked up, back, no matter where you go, this thing, it's as comfortable as a Conigarius in the hand. So as a bruiser knife goes, it's ridiculous. And the corners on that, actually, you know what? I'll show one of the kind of comparable knives, but I'll bring that up close and you can see that rounding. If you don't do that, a lot of manufacturing will do like just a small chamfer on that edge, which is basically like just kind of a shearing of it off the sharp corner. And so it does definitely make it a little bit more comfortable. This is the Medford 187 DP. Thank you, Dave, for selling me this one. This is kind of like one of my two favorite Medfords that I wanted, and it came up. I love it. So the square versus the round, it's almost incomparable. So move on to the next thing. So this knife had essentially 100% flat surfaces, and there was no texturing on it. So in true Rodney fashion, for those who don't know Rodney, he's basically an expert machinist, and he was one of the first people, if not the first, that I know of that came out with 80-20.5 titanium scales, and these are just gorgeous. And though I did want it colored back then, I realized after he kind of was showing me along the way that I wasn't going to go ahead and color this one. So he does anodizing work, and this is his pattern. This is called the spiral frag pattern, and it basically forms. It's basically, you can kind of see the round of those spirals, and then they interconnect to make essentially diamonds there, and then they expand out. If you take a look at it on this knife, the tier, you'll see how the diamonds start as more kind of just like rhombuses, I guess that's what those are, and then as the spiral pattern moves further and further out, it forms more of diamond. So the diamonds expand in a sense, and absolutely, he nailed this perfectly. He had not done this one before on the Zermeno tier. He does have all the CAD files saved, so that this is repeatable. If you want to, you can contact. Again, I'll put his YouTube as well as his Instagrams in the description below if you want to contact Noftastic EDC, also known as Noftanium. He can now do this with a repeatable fashion. It won't take quite as long because he has all the stuff to do it. So I really wanted that texturing, and it provides not only beauty, but nice grip, really nice grip. Not that the aluminum oxide or acid washing or whatever what it was didn't provide some extra little friction on handle. This is just that much better. And by not anodizing, I kind of love the industrial look. If you take a look at it, it had that aluminum oxide on there. And when he basically milled out all that pattern, he left that on the surfaces though. So I get that kind of extra, I don't know, it just kind of matches really well with the blade. So excellent. Just, I can't even tell you. This is great. It's more comfortable. It's more beautiful. It's actually more secure in the hand. And the last thing is I was gonna anodize this because it came with the purple hardware, titanium hardware, and I thought, you know what, do bronze, because I previously on the 80-20 I had him do a bronze on the tips and then a blurple on the underside of there. And with this one, I thought, well, yeah, I got purple and bronze. I can, nope. When he kind of showed me what it looked like, I said, nope, we're not anodizing it. It looks absolutely beautiful as is. One of the things I will point out, very, very difficult to actually, because the lock bar cut out and basically the placement of the plates on those he was talking about is it's really, really difficult to try to hit this. So I said, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Actually, with the way it's going to be ground and everything, that'll work just fine. And I was not going to change the pocket clip. So the pocket clip stayed the same. I actually kind of like that working finish. Again, I don't know if it's acid wash or like aluminum oxide blasted. Something like that. Not a problem though. So I ended up not going with that. You know, and I don't mind. At least, I wanted it to be something a little bit different than like full monochromatic. It's not like I didn't want to go in and raid Sawtooth Days collection and just have, aluminum oxide blasted everything. And this, with just the raw titanium underneath, with that surface of that, I absolutely love it. It's actually, like I said, functional and nice. So I'm literally, my jaw just drops every time I hold this knife. I'm like, wow, Rodney did an amazing job. So what I do want to do is kind of show a couple of things where you get to see what a professional machinist, how things differ when a human hand gets on it versus just kind of a machine. So I'm going to show these side by side. This is original goat titanium scales, and I hope it shows up. Let me butt them next to each other. But if you take a look very close in, you're going to see crosshatch mill lines on the original goat, and those have been buffed out. So Rodney took care of all that. In addition to basically knocking down any burrs and stuff, there's just no burrs anywhere. There's one little tiny burr, and I'll explain where that came from. But I actually love what he did, because it wasn't even something I asked him, but I think he had watched my review video, and I said that was one of the weaknesses of this knife. Actually, I'll just talk about it now. Is he canted the lock bar interface with the tang. So this knife previously had a full 90-degree angle, like it was literally just cut across like this. And I'll see if I can get it in close. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. In fact, yeah, you can definitely see it there. As you can see that he angled that lock bar interface so it meets up, and there's essentially no more lock stick, just the slightest bit. It's so just micro impacting now at this point in time. It solved that problem too, which I think was, for me, one of the things I didn't like is the lock stick was pretty bad, and so he canted that down at an angle, and it makes that lock bar interface perfect. So we're just moving towards perfection on everything on this knife at this point in time. And so yeah, compared to let me go ahead and just stack up a few of these guys. So there's the tier. This is the 80-20 Freeman 451. You can kind of see these frame lengths. The Hinder XM24. We'll line that guy up there. And then the Medford, which I already showed, the 187 DP. These are all fairly thick boys, but as it turns out, the thinnest of all of these is actually going to be the Freeman 451 button lock. That's kind of a bruiser button lock. And then the next one is actually essentially the same as the XM24 and the tier. So if you like an XM24, the Zermeno tier is excellent. But similarly, you just have a chamfering on the XM24. And so the radiusing, the rounding, in other words, around those outside edges is just ridiculous. In that context of the bruisers that I have, it's 100% as comfortable as the 80-20 with these original goat scales. And for me, that's kind of the knife that I compare the blade stock, blade length. If you kind of look at that grind, in terms of the way they each cut, you got the nice rounded. It's, for me, I like the tier better. I may actually end up getting rid of this 80-20, so be on the lookout. Sometime in this year, I might be selling the 80-20. I don't know. I don't see myself ever grabbing this over the tier at this point in time, even as a user. So everything. The knife went from 8.5 ounces to it went from 8.7 ounces to 8.5 ounces. So with the milling on the frame here. It did drop 0.2 ounces, very substantial still. Yeah, it's excellent. And, you know, the fact that he tested the heat treat 59 is just fine for me. So what is next for this knife? Definitely, it's not. I dulled this thing when I basically did my test on it, or basically when I carried this knife, I dulled the heck out of it. It needs a sharpening, but I knew I was going to regrind this. So next on the video and use is going to be, I'm going to have Sawtooth Dave grind this for me. So I'm going to have him take it a little bit higher, a little bit deeper on that grind, and then just take a little bit off this swedge here to get some satin lines in there. Get some satin lines hopefully in there, and just imagine this thing once that has, you know, that kind of ground off with raw satin, and then the blade. Oh my gosh, look out! So I don't know when that'll be. I talked to Dave, and it'll probably not be until March or so. I just got a whole lot of other things going on. So do look for that though in the coming months. And yeah, this will make its way around Instagram. I've already posted once, and oh, I can't even tell you. Like I said, do not hesitate to hit up Rodney if you are interested and you own a tier. If, you know, he might be able to do other patterns. I don't know. I'm not a machinist at all. I work in computers. And so he might be able to do some of his other patterns, like the putter pattern for his 80-20.5. I don't know on that one. But I think he has it pretty nailed down. Certainly if you want the radiusing of your tier, I can tell you it's literally a completely different knife at this point in time. So, oh boy, gosh, 11 minutes in. Sorry. Have a good day. I appreciate like and subscribe if this is of any interest at all. Take care.